That was a good decision.
That was the first game last week. What do you mean come out of retirement?
Hello world and welcome back to Grid. Iron Campbell, the only podcast that puts its money where its mouth is. I'm your host, Rich Ryan, and I'm joined by the entire collective, The Disciple, Brett Colson, Donnie, DP Peters, and the resident moose himself, Mo Nuwara. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Listeners, rate and review on your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars only, like Jalen Ramsey. Coming to you a day early. The collective has some happenings going on this week. I'm headed to the East Coast for a wedding. I'll actually be at one of the games on the slate this weekend. Brett's got a concert. The guy's got some life things. So we're coming to you with what I've been calling in our group chat a vibes cast. These are very much leans. People have made selections, but I start my process normally on Wednesday. Sometimes early in the week, if I see something that's completely amiss, I'll fire a wager in, but a lot of my capping is done here on Wednesday. So we'll keep the format the same in terms of split games, lone wolves, and then instead of picks, we'll do leans, and I'll tell you guys what the collective lean is right now, and then, of course, get into Survivor. 3 straight winning weeks for the collective, landing a 3-2 body blow last week after consecutive 4-1 weeks. So I think the tinkering, Brett has been standing on a table for years that we should be tinkering. We've been doing more tinkering on Saturday mornings than Brett. Last week, I bullied you a couple weeks ago. Last week, you switched out a winner for a winner, 2 straight winners for you. So, Brett, I want to thank you for getting us to tinker a little bit more and make some more optimal decisions.
Well, why weren't it's idiotic that we weren't? Like, we should have all the information going into our final card, and we were just like, we made our picks 3 days ago. It's fine. No, we're actually trying to win now, and I appreciate that.
And you guys can always get our updated thoughts to the minute in the Discord, bit.ly/Discord Moose. Always some good back and forth in there with regards to sides and Survivor. Survivor's the best, going back and forth. What are the plays? What's the leverage? The different contests that people are in on Splash, etc. So that's one of my favorite channels throughout the week. But let's get into these games, and we'll start with some split contests where there are 2 hosts on one side and 2 hosts on the other. And let's start with a game in the AFC. Nope, I'm looking at the wrong week. This is a day early. We'll start with Bucs Lions, one of the 2 Monday night games, another doubleheader this week on ABC and ESPN. And this is a fun game, a playoff rematch, not last year, but of 2 years ago, between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions. My buttons are stuck. And I'm very surprised to see that Bert Minotti, who has everybody filled out their whole card. Brett freelanced this week. He just picked 6 games, didn't click for the other ones. But this is one of them where he is laying the 5.5 points with Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, and Detroit City.
Well, this is just me martingaling the Bucs, and they continue to cover every single week. It's just going to happen. I feel like this really is a great spot to sell Tampa. And you're also buying low on Detroit. Like, Baker Mayfield has been awesome. He's the league MVP right now. It's easily a top 5 quarterback in the league right now by any metric you look at. But I think this sets up as a brutal spot for him in prime time, on the road, at Ford Field, against a Lions team coming off a loss. And the problem with Baker this week is simple. Like, he's just running out of help. Like, Mike Evans, Igbuka, Godwin, McMillan, Bucky Irving, all either out or trending that way. They might get Mike Evans this week, but even if he does play, he's far from 100% coming off the hamstring. So if all those guys are out, I guess we'll have to see what Circa gives us with this. Because, this should close Lions -7 if all those guys are out. That's why I like it I mean, you gave us 5.5, right? I love the Lions at 5.5. But even with everybody healthy, if they are healthy, like Tampa's pass defense is just a problem. They're bottom 5 in both EPA and success rate versus dropbacks. And then there's the intangible angle that Dan Campbell, his teams don't lose coming off a loss, and they cover every single time. They're 11-0 against the spread off a loss. Every single time. And this is where Campbell shines, though. Like, he gets his guys up, and what better spot than at home in prime time? It just feels too good to be true at this number, 5.5. I'm really interested to see what Circa gives us, though.
So I said very rarely do I put bets into my account before my Wednesday process. I've got Bucks and over in my account, and that's Bucks money bet. Because with a total this high, I do think the points are meaningless, and I'm getting close to plus 500 on that parlay. So I think there's a pretty high correlation that if the Bucks do find a way to win this game, it's going to be a game with which there are a ton of points, because both of these past defenses, you talk about the Bucks, the Lions are injured, and now they're going to be without Brian Branch, who decided to punch Juju Smith-Schuster in the face like a sore loser after losing in Arrowhead. So I'm very much concerned about this Lions defense, and at this point, does it matter who Baker is throwing to when something called Tez Johnson is just ripping down the seam for a 40-yard touchdown? So I think this is going to be a classic Circa spot where it's going to be 1,300 on each side, no leverage to be had, a game that everybody's going to be interested in, especially if this game does get closer to that full 7, because like you said, like we've said many times, people love the Lions. So I don't think this number going up is going to deter anybody from clicking them, especially when they're looking at no Egbuka, no Godwin, and a hobbled Evans. But I do think there are enough people out there that are Baker-pilled who are going to click this team, especially if they're getting a ton of points inside. Mo, I just want to get your take real quick on this one. You had this in the middle, but you've had your finger on the pulse of the Bucks here. Baker's been your guy, so I was surprised to see you click the other side and lay the points with Detroit.
Yeah, just if you think something Tez Johnson is anonymous, wait till you hear about something Cameron Johnson. Yeah, just Mike Evans maybe coming back, but even if he is, he's maybe not going to be 100%. I don't know. It looks like Chris Godwin's going to be out. Looks like Bucky Irving's going to be out. Now, obviously, Goat Ibuka's out. So, and I think the third string left guard got hurt, or right guard, whatever it was. Or they're down to a third stringer. This is the week that it finally matters, I think, that the other players aren't good on Tampa Bay. So, yeah, with a pissed off Lions team, I had this one at 6, so a little bit of value for me, maybe, but it wouldn't be something I'd bet. But I guess when it comes to the Lions, if they win by a little, if they can win by a lot, they're gonna win by a lot. So that's probably the team where even if you think there's maybe only a little bit of value on the Lions, you might as well just bet it, because they're gonna cover more often than not when they win.
Yeah, obviously, I've put a stake on the Bucks having a chance to win this game outright. If I were to bet anything else in this game, it would probably be laying the points with the Lions, just because we've seen this so many times that when they get a team that's down and out, they establish leads and they extend them. So if I look up on Sunday and I see that the Lions have won this game by heaps, I'm certainly not going to be surprised, because that's
Lions alts.
Yeah, that's within their DNA. Let's get to a very fascinating cap as the greatest football team.
Miami and the Dolphins, the greatest football team.
Travel to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Something Dylan Gabriel and the Cleveland Browns are currently showing as full field goal favorites in pro football in 2025, with a total of 39.5 and a forecast of 17 mile an hour winds and an 84% chance of rain. And some people are interested in clicking this Browns team because you have a Dolphins team where the quarterback is standing at the podium saying that guys are skipping meetings. And then when the coach himself gets on the podium, he's saying that the quarterback is incorrect. And they're essentially fighting out in the open. People have been assigning a dead man walking quality to this Dolphins team to start the season. Everybody is just waiting for the ripcord to be pulled, but it hasn't yet. The Dolphins nearly snuck away with a victory last week. Of course, they did not, with the Chargers storming back to win at the end. So there was part of me entering this cap that wants to join everybody in burying the Dolphins and saying, you know, it's over. This Browns defense is just going to eat them alive. But I clicked Browns, but with this total being so low and this Browns offense being so inept itself, I certainly can't find myself laying the points. But Brett did it, and it is one of his leans this week.
Big lean here. I love the Browns. Listen, Dylan Gabriel's, he's looked like the worst quarterback in the NFL. I don't think that's even a debate. And normally this pick would have several red flags. A quarterback that doesn't beat the threshold is favored. Never lay points with bad teams is what we say every week. But I can't get past the mismatch in the trenches here. And I want to take advantage of Cleveland's really only strength against Miami's biggest flaw, and that is up front. The Dolphins' defense has been a disaster over the last 3 weeks. 600 yards on the ground allowed. That is historically bad in the run game. One of those came last week against the Chargers. Their third string running back behind an offensive line that was missing 3 starters. Like this defense
Don't besmirch
is...
Kimani. Don't just throw a third string running.
Come on. But yeah, now they're facing a Cleveland team that's finally getting settled back in after 2 chaotic weeks. Quarterback transition. Like Dylan Gabriel's first 2 starts came against very good defense. He had almost no prep time. And now he's got his first full normal practice week and his first game against a defense that's outside like the top 12 or top 10, and that matters. And meanwhile, the Browns' run game is coming together. Quinshon Judkins, this dude is he's kind of a beast, and I see this being his big breakout week. He's explosive through contact, and Miami's front seven is just, they're miserable at defending gap runs and anything outside the tackles. So huge game here, I think, especially with the weather conditions too. The Browns are just going to run all over Miami, and Cleveland's defense is built to dominate in this kind of environment. I think this sets up perfectly for Cleveland, a physical, motivated team back home facing a team that is soft and falling apart. I think that's a real thing that's happening in Miami. So I really like the Browns here. I'm even talking about Browns in Survivor. I think I love them here.
To put some numbers to that rushing angle, the Browns are 9th in rush offense EPA, while the Dolphins are 30th in rush defense EPA. As a Jets fan, I did watch the Jets just walk down the field against them in the run game. And yeah, of course, last week, Kamani Vidal, I cut up some clips of him this week, and it's just unbelievable how wide open some of the holes are that he was running through. But Mo, laying 3 points in professional football with a quarterback that likely does not make the threshold to play in this sport.
Yeah, passing offense. And that's all I was looking at here. This is 2 really bad teams. One of them can complete passes, one of them can't. But I guess if the weather's going to be that bad, I didn't look at that. So maybe. I mean, Judkins has looked great. You can't deny that. This team can run the ball. But yeah, Dylan Gabriel, I didn't know if he was a pro quarterback, and I was stunned to see somebody use the 3rd round pick on him. And now I haven't really seen any reason to doubt what I was thinking when I saw him in college. And then, I don't know, man. As bad as Dylan Gabriel is too, somebody catch the ball when he actually throws it to you. Harold Fannin stinks. And I say that as somebody with some Harold Fannin shares in fantasy. And he's putting up some numbers for me. He sucks. He can't catch. And Jerry Jeudy had another abysmal drop. I mean, this team is an embarrassment in the passing game. So I can't click on them. So I wish Brett the best.
I just pulled up the Arby's DM quarterback efficiency graph for the season so far. And just right at the bottom of the bottom left hand of the linear regression is D. Gabriel. Just the WOT, EPA per play, WOT, CPOE. Yeah, it's this is not going to be a fun watch if you have a stake in this game. It is not going to be a fun contest to lay your eyes on. All right, let's go to MetLife. Whoever they made the favorite in this game was going to be a mistake. Either you're making the Carolina Panthers road favorites in 2025. Let me give them their just due. Or you're making the 0-6 New York Jets favorites in 2025. But I'm just at the point with this Jets team where I need to see something before I can buy into anything. This team has been horrific, and now they are down Garrett Wilson, and it is likely they're also going to be down Josh Reynolds, which leaves a fight to the death for WR1 between Tyler Johnson and Alan Lazard, which is just as bad as it gets. There's a quote today. They asked Justin Fields directly, why hasn't he been running more? And he said he sustained a very big contusion on his leg in the Miami game. So his legs have been hurting him, and he has been less confident tucking and running. So if you've got a Justin Fields who is playing drop back passer, and you've got WR1, Tyler Johnson, or Alan Lazard, with Aaron Glenn at the helm, who doesn't seem like he is going to be able to put it together as the head coach, I think now that Callahan is gone, you might just have 32 of 32 with the New York Jets. So I do have Panthers -1 in my account. I do have the Panthers right now at the bottom of my top 5. I cannot, in good faith, put any support behind this Jets team. Speaking of Survivor, I think the Panthers are a very, very, very devil Survivor.
No
selection.
way.
Not in Circa. Not in Circa. But if you're in a rebuy pool, if you're in a multi-picks pool where later in the season you need to be making multiple picks, when else, Brett, are you going to click the Carolina Panthers?
You might not need to. I mean, they'll be at home against the Saints eventually. I'd rather take them there against the Jets on the road.
Tell me how you put an X next to the Jets. Explain it to me.
Because this is a spot more on the Panthers than the Jets. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 3. Every week, I just yinged and yanged with the Atlanta Falcons. Like, they'd win at home, then I'd fade them on the road where they lost, then hop back on them at home. It's the same situation with the Panthers here, and it is printing. And now they're on the road against a winless Jets team. The Panthers have won 2 games in a row. Aren't people just going to cram Carolina here, short of 3? Like, who's picking the Jets? This team's pitiful.
Who's cramming Carolina? Nobody's cramming Carolina.
All right. They might not cram, but I think you're still looking at a potential leverage opportunity. And I do think the Jets can just get a win here at home against a bad football team that does all of its
How did the Jets get first downs? 10 net passing yards.
Well, that was against an elite defense.
Fair. This is very true.
-10.
Excuse me, -10. Let me give the Broncos their fair due. I just don't know how this team moves the ball. If they're not going to, and this is the issue, is Tanner Engstrand is designing an offense like he's calling plays for Jared Goff still, right? That he's looking for a drop back passer who's going to make reads and deliver the ball on time. You can't do that when Justin Fields is your quarterback. He is not capable. He just holds the ball and holds the ball and holds the ball. And if he's doing that and not breaking pocket to run because he's banged up or not comfortable scrambling, then what is the point of a Justin Fields? So I don't know, man. Unless they come out and they just commit to the bit and they just run Army Georgia Tech offense on Sunday, which is exactly what they should do with this offensive line, this offensive line is capable of running that. We have an army of tight ends. Jelani Woods is just hanging out. He's never active, but he's an absolute monster of a human. Get him out there, moving people in the run game. Like, just commit to the bit. Run the Navy offense and see if you can get a win. I don't know if they're going to try to do that, though. So that makes me terrified. Last split game. Colts at Chargers. This is a game I had absolutely zero opinion on. I think the line is pretty much perfect. Once again, it's Mo and Brett on opposite sides. Mo, you've got the road dog here in Daniel Jones and Indianapolis.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts are a really good team, probably top 7 or so. I don't know if the Chargers are even a good team at this point with the players they've lost. I correctly guessed that the Dolphins were going to put up a real fight in that game, and they almost won. I don't think the Chargers are very good anymore. So with all the players they've lost, this is wrong team favored for me. I'm taking the Colts because I think they have a better offense and a coach who is doing great work and a very varied offense. Like, this is not an offense where you can just zero in on anything that they're doing and just be like, okay, that's what we're taking away this week. Well, they have 85 different ways to move the ball because they have a great tight end. They can run the ball, multiple pass catching options. I mean, this is a very well designed offense that I think is going to be able to put up some points on the Chargers, and I don't have confidence in the Chargers to keep up with anybody anymore that's scoring points because they just the play that won them the game last week, Justin Herbert had to shuck off 3 guys who were sacking him, and then Lad McConkey had to juke 3 guys, and it just, yeah, I mean, that works against the Dolphins, but good luck against real NFL teams.
It's so funny. Entering the season, I feel like every team that felt like they were receiver away or needed somebody in their receiver room was like, we should trade for Alec Pierce. We should trade for Josh Downs. Just to your point of how multiple this Colts offense is, because they have so many dudes that can just do different things. And there's so many easy buttons for Steichen to press in this offense if there's certain matchups. We saw Downs last week, comes back from injury, immediately has a big impact for that team. So, yeah, this Colts offense, just, like I said, there's so many buttons for Steichen to press. And as long as Daniel Jones keeps it together and doesn't make any turnover-worthy mistakes, they're pretty dangerous in every single game they play. Brett, you've been Steichen-pilled all season, so I was once again surprised to see you click the Chargers in the spot.
Yeah, I love what Shane Steichen's doing in Indy. Like, the Colts are creative. They're extremely well prepared every week, but they are being treated like a top 8 team in these power ratings right now. And I can't quite get there when you look at who they've beaten. Like, they beat Arizona last week with a backup quarterback. They beat Vegas, Tennessee, Miami. 4 of those wins came at home. Those are broken, beat up teams. And not one of them has a top 10 offense or defense by EPA. So I don't know that this run of results justifies Indy being rated ahead of the Chargers just yet. Meanwhile, the Chargers stock is in the gutter. Injuries on the offensive line, at running back, but they still have Herbert, and the dude showed out last week when he had to. He got the dub on the road. Now he's back at home with a chance to gain some ground in the playoff race against the current number 1 seed in the conference. This is a huge game for them at home. And now Indy dealing with some defensive injuries as well. They had already lost their slot corner, Kenny Moore, before last week's game. Then Mike Hilton goes down. Charvarius Ward, who's excellent, he went down with a concussion. And now with the travel this week, is that guy going to clear protocol in time? So he might not play this week. And like, Jacoby Brissett torched this defense last week. So I don't know why we should feel great about Indy's secondary right now going up against Justin Herbert. So between the injuries to the Colts secondary, I think obviously the Chargers have a much better quarterback, probably still a better coach too. I think the market's giving Indy a bit too much credit for beating up on bad teams. So that's why I ended up on the Chargers.
To put some numbers to your points, preseason look ahead was -6 in favor of the Chargers. Market ratings have certainly shifted there. And the Indianapolis Colts per DVOA have played the 6th easiest schedule to date in the NFL. Those are the split games. Nothing for DP yet. So we got to get to his segment, the Lone Wolves. All right, DP. I feel like it's a bit at this point. I should really get the song because you just keep clicking it every single week, and this one is no exception. You're laying the 1.5 points with the EAGLES Eagles as they travel to Minnesota to take on JJ McCarthy ? And the Vikings.
Big question mark. I mean, who the heck is playing quarterback for the Vikings? We're on the Vibes podcast, so it's good that we can just go on Vibes and we can figure this out later because it's either going to be JJ McCarthy, who hasn't played in several weeks, coming back, and I think this is a tough spot for him to just jump back in and come back, or Wentz dealing with the shoulder injury, which everything that I've read says it's very, very painful. Even though Wentz has also said like he wants to come back and play against the Eagles and all that sort of stuff. So it's like, so you're going to get an over-motivated Carson Wentz, who isn't that good to begin with, injured with a shoulder, playing quarterback, seems like bad news. Or J.J. McCarthy coming off cold, seems like bad news. When on the other side, I see these guys for the Eagles, they practiced today from what I could tell. So are they going to be back? Which makes them better. I mean, I already think the Eagles are a cut above the Vikings in general. So I just think this is a pretty bad spot. Also, I mean, I guess stealing a little bit of what Brett said in relation to the Lions. I mean, how pissed off are the fucking Eagles? I mean, come on. After what they've been putting up the last couple weeks. I mean, Thursday night in prime time, losing to the Giants like that. I mean, come on. I know the Vikings are also on extra rest, but, you know, the Thursday game does allow the Eagles that little bit of extra rest to prepare for this, possibly stew a bit over this loss that they just had. You know, I don't know. I really like this team. And I think the obvious thing to throw back would be, you know, this is Flores' defense going up against Hurts, and we're not high on Hurts. You know, I know Rich was, you know, beaking last week with some of those plays there, or some of those throws that he was making. But they were bad, yes. But, I mean, come on. I think they can scheme things up here. They can get things right. They can move the rock, and you know, I'm not asking them to cover a really big number here. It's 1.5, so it's not exactly moving mountains.
Mo had this low. I had this in the middle-ish. Not in love with the Vikings, obviously because of the ambiguity at the quarterback position. To further assert your love for the Eagles, they have played the third toughest schedule so far per DVOA, and Minnesota has played the third easiest. And the rest advantage, like you said, for the Vikings gets dinged a little bit while they had the full bye. The Eagles did have the mini bye off of Thursday Night Football. But it's what you just said, which just, I can't get Flores at home against Jalen Hurts out of my mind. Flores is going to make Hurts beat him, right? He's going to situate his defense in a way where he's not going to let the Eagles rushing attack beat them. The Eagles rushing attack has been very poor this season, and he's going to force Jalen Hurts to make throws against him and beat him. And Jalen Hurts is specifically poor against pressure, against blitzes, very erratic. So I have a hard time seeing the Eagles having offensive success in that spot. But I just can't get to loving Minnesota because I don't know who's playing quarterback. And honestly, if I were intrigued by Minnesota to make a wager or put them on our card or have any support for them, I don't even know which quarterback I would want in this spot, because you've got a Carson Wentz who is injured and turnover prone, and a JJ McCarthy who I'm still not sure can make every throw necessary to play quarterback at this level. So this is a game where I'll be more so probably data collecting on the Vikings and most likely sitting on the sidelines. Mo, let's get you back involved because this is a nice dead cat bounce spot for Washington, coming back after a couple of turnovers against the Bears. Now they get a much softer landing spot in this Cowboys defense indoors. Tell us why you picked Washington.
I'm not going to tell you why, because I'm sitting this out because this is your fault. You put the wrong number, and I didn't go back and change it because I didn't feel like it. So I had Washington minus as fair, and you put Washington plus on the thing, so I clicked on Washington. That's my explanation. So if you want the right pick, you have to put the right thing in the sheet.
Totally my fault.
Fix
My
it.
fault. This is accountability. It is 1,000% my fault. I'm technically the highest on Dallas at 1.5. I think it's just rule of NFC East a little bit here. Cowboys coming off the bye. Again, injury ambiguity in this spot. Both Terry McLaurin and CeeDee Lamb practiced today in a limited fashion. So how much of that is them ramping up and then potentially playing next week? Or how much of that is them actually trying to get back to play this week? We don't know. It's Wednesday. But injury news in that situation could make me change my opinion rapidly. If McLaurin is in and CD is out, and this is a dead cat bounce spot for Washington, I would really like them inside on the fast turf against this Cowboys defense. If it's the other way around, and it's the Cowboys coming off the bye against the Washington team that I think is generally overrated still, people are still kind of in love with what this team was last year, I think I'll be interested in Dallas in this spot. So I think there's just a lot of TBD when it comes to this matchup. All right, Brett, I'm fairly certain I had the correct numbers in this game with the Niners 2.5-point favorites at home against the Atlanta Falcons, who got us one of our 3 covers last week. And you were laying the 2.5 with another team with a lot of injuries. And some practice reports are in, this being on the West Coast, we don't know about the Niners at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to depend on what the injury reports look like through the end of this week. But the 49ers offense might start looking like the 49ers offense again. Purdy, Kittle practiced today. Jennings practiced today. Pearsall probably not going to be back, but I would prefer to buy this team now before the offense is already clicking again with the starters intact. That's kind of where my head is at with this one. Plus, Atlanta off the big win, short week. The Warner injury sucks. That's obviously huge for San Francisco, but I have the Niners rated higher than Atlanta, so I think this line's pretty fair, and short of 3, I'm leaning towards San Francisco.
Man, my buttons are sticking. DP, you were the highest on the other side with the 2.5 with Bijan, Michael Penix, and them boys.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just can't get past these 49ers injuries. I also don't really think Mac Jones is playing well. I mean, I don't know. I watch this team and I'm just like, I don't understand how they're even like kind of in games. I mean, I guess that goes to Shanahan and all the positive stuff that everyone says about him. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like, kind of like where Brett's head is at, where he wants to buy shares before they kind of get going. I want to go the other way before they really fall apart. I mean, I think one of the reasons why, just going back, the reason why I didn't pick the 49ers under on the season is because their schedule was so easy, which I think has allowed them to kind of get to this point, dealing with all these injuries, all these key injuries that they've had. Well, if these injuries continue, I mean, I think at some point this has to like kind of just fall apart, or I feel like it has to. Like, I don't know how it can't. Like, how can you survive like this in the NFL? I mean, maybe they can. Maybe they're just going to walk on water till the freaking NFC Championship game. I don't know. But I don't see that happening. So I think the Falcons are pretty good all around. I mean, I think their quarterback play could be improved, yes, but I think they have enough there on both sides of the ball that, coupled with the way that this 49ers roster is just looking, again, with all these injuries, I just can't put an X next to the 49ers in any way, shape, or form right now.
All right, I've got the last lone wolf, and it will come up again in the Survivor section because I don't know what to do this week with Survivor. I have so many options that I'm not confident in any of them. But one of them that I'm interested in is one of them that I am interested in is, if I find it one time, it's here somewhere. Is it not here? There it is.
Go, Pack, go!
Green Bay Packers travel to Arizona, where they're currently 6.5-point favorites. Another injury question as to whether or not Kyler Murray will be back this week with his foot injury. The Cardinals played a bunch of games last week, having him practice, do some things, smoke screen, but it seemed fairly obvious and was made pretty much. I think it's so funny. I think the official news came out right after lineup lock for Circa. So we didn't get the official line move until after that Jacoby Brissett was going to go in and play quarterback. And Jacoby went in and played just fine. Maybe it had something to do with that bum Marvin Harrison Jr. not being on the field and taking targets away from actual meaningful football players. But this feels like, and Mo's brought this up previously, classic rule of NBA injury. You get a bump in the first one, get out there, play above expectation, and then come crashing down to earth the game after. It makes it even sweeter that it's at home where people saw that performance and they think that the Cardinals can sustain it. But I know who Jacoby Brissett is, and he's not that quarterback who is going blow for blow with a Colts offense that has been hyper efficient this year. So whether it's Jacoby Brissett or it's a hobbled Kyler Murray, who kind of like Justin Fields, if the dude can't move, it's kind of pointless that he's in the game playing quarterback for you. And then this is a Packers team where all I've heard the past week is what's wrong with the Packers? What's wrong with Micah Parsons? This team is fake elite. This team isn't in the Super Bowl conversation. So I don't think very many people will have any interest in selecting Green Bay in Circa Sports Million. And when it comes to Survivor, I'm seeing a projected 2% ownership for a team that is favored by 6.5 in pro football. So very interested in the Packers. With both of those, Mo, you put an X next to the Cardinals. If you have any conviction or anything to say, tell us now or forever. Hold your peace.
No, I don't have anything to say. I mean, how can you even make a number for this game when you don't know who the quarterback is?
Yeah.
I think Brissett played good. It's hard to say. I definitely thought about that principle, though, when I was looking at this game. But it's interesting. All I've been seeing this week is that everyone has the Packers as the number one team. So I don't know if I agree with you that nobody is going to be interested in the Packers. I think quite a few people might be if they're looking at these market ratings and whatnot. The InPredict numbers do have the Packers number one as well. So apparently,
how can anybody be above Kansas City? I mean, what are we doing? How many times do we have to see that? How many times do we have to see this movie?
The Chiefs are number two, but yeah, I think I would take the Chiefs over the Packers for sure. But yeah, the Packers are good, obviously, and Arizona. It's been. I'll just say it's been incredibly disappointing what they've put on tape this year. I cannot believe this coaching staff that was so consistently able to get overachievement out of piss poor rosters finally got dealt a full deck of cards here where they had NFL players across the board and they haven't been able to do anything close to what they did before. So I'm concerned that something Clayton Adams was causing a lot of the magic behind this offense, because all of a sudden they look lost.
That said, and I know their schedule has been extremely weak to this point, they've been in every single game until the end.
They didn't deserve to be in some of these games, though. The Seahawks kicked their ass.
Yeah, that's true. But they're always there.
And just to further the Brissett point, he put together a 61st percentile EPA game against the Colts, 0.15 EPA. And over the last couple of years prior to this season, he was more at 0.04. So just slightly above the average when it comes to EPA. So I don't think what we saw last week is very repeatable. I still believe in this Packers team. And it's funny. It's funny. We've been hearing different things. I heard somebody this week say that they think the Cowboys might have won the trade because Micah Parsons is like 50th in pressure rate or something right now. I mean, if he has a degenerative back problem and he's not like super elite, then the questions are going to be made about this transaction. But I'm going to give it time. I've seen Micah Parsons play well enough in this league that I'm not going to let a couple of weeks of play on a brand new team affect the way that I think about this guy. So those are the early Lone Wolf leans. Let's get to our very preliminary Week 7 card.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
I don't even know what the records were last week, so we're going to go alphabetical order. Brett Colson, if here on Wednesday you had to put a game on the card, it would be...
I'd probably flip a coin between the Browns and the Chargers at this point. Well, so we'll just say Chargers.
Most reaction says it all. DP, if you were to put a game on the card here on Wednesday, what would it be?
Eagles.
There will be tinkering. Mo, you're up next. A game we have not discussed, a game that I love, a game that is right now a consensus pick because Brett didn't put an X next to either team, so 3 of 3. It's 100% of those who answered. Who do you got?
I got the Giants. Just getting... I don't know where this is at in real life, so I'm curious what sort of number is going to end up coming out in the contest. I'm assuming you got these numbers from somewhere and you didn't just pull these out of your ass. So, yeah, if the Giants are getting 7.5, it's just a number that I just don't understand. I mean, I'm looking at these in predict ratings earlier, and they're telling me that the Broncos are 5 points better than the Giants, which... probably pretty close to where I'm at, but then why are we giving the Broncos full credit for home field in a spot where they're coming back from overseas and the Giants have extra rest? So I'm not understanding why the situation favors them at all. It seems like quite the opposite to me. So yeah, I don't think they should be getting much credit at all beyond whatever the difference in the team strength is here. So do I think the Giants are a particularly good team? No, but I do kind of like what they're doing on offense with Jackson Dart and Cam Scattaboo. I mean, it's relatively low risk anyway. Like, they're going to have a hard time just giving away hemorrhaging points with silly mistakes when they run the ball so much. And Jackson Dart, it seems like he'd rather scramble than force the ball into tough spots. So I think that if they just let their defense put some pressure on Bo Nix, which I'm assuming they will because this is a very good pass rush. We all think Bo Nix is pretty bad when he's not in a structured situation. So I think the Giants should be able to keep this close, man. I thought that line was insane last week. When I saw the Giants were 7.5 point dogs, and this is how unplugged I was because I was so pissed about the Rams. I thought they were on the road. So I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then when I saw they were at home, I was flabbergasted by that line. So I had to come out of retirement and take some Giants money line. And That was a good decision.
That was the first game last week. What do you mean come out of retirement?
That was the only game I bet.
Comes
Well,
out of
just free money
retirement
to be
for
had.
the first game of the next slate, just ready to go.
Yeah. This is just classic betting spot. Total of 40.5. Getting a 7.5 point dog against an offense that has been extremely limited. Broncos 29th in offensive success rate throwing the ball. They've played the third easiest schedule in football so far. So what success they have had has been against idiot teams like the New York Jets with -10 net passing yards. So this seems like a brutal spot, brutal travel spot, brutal rest spot. And while it pains me to buy this Giants team off of that win and that hype, the line moved a 0.5 point. So it's not like there's any value that was added to this that is going to make it tougher to click a team like the Giants. I am up next, and my pick is technically sniped by the collective. I'll tell you the collective pick right now. The collective lean, I should call it. It is the dead cat bounce of all dead cat bounces. Something Callahan was finally let go. House has been cleaned. He took his dad with him. All the Callahans. I'm sure they had Callahan cousins and ball boys and stuff that were hanging around too. All the Callahans have been rounded up and sent out of Nashville. And now you've got a Tennessee Titans team that can just breathe, let their shoulders drop a little bit, play free. And now they're 7.5 point dogs at home against an extremely overrated Patriots team. A Patriots team that all these metrics are telling me is bang average, is getting a lot out of their quarterback, who admittedly is playing fantastic, Drake May, making amazing plays, really good downfield, extending plays, getting away from pressure. He is playing awesome. But he is currently a 7.5 point road favorite in pro football, in a spot where the other team is likely to give its best effort of the season, and all of the computers that are creating this number and running regressions to spit out this number are accounting for it being the worst team in the league by a country mile. So this is another classic spot. It's a must click. Cam Ward has made all the throws that you would like so far this season. All it's going to take is just a bad coaching effort. I'm not even asking for average, just a bad coaching effort. Just not the worst coaching effort in the league. Let these guys go out, play free, ball out, and cover a massive number at home in 7.5. So who was the lowest of the people that clicked? Nobody. Everybody had Titans in their top 5. DP, I guess you were the quote unquote lowest on Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, this is just it's a slam dunk pick. I don't necessarily know if it's like slam dunk confidence, but like the combination of the spot, you got the buy low, sell high aspect, you got the anti-narrative. Everyone's talking about Vrabel's return to Tennessee, and this is like, I mean, it's like it's so perfect. Not only is it Vrabel's return to Tennessee, they just fired the guy who replaced your ass. And you don't think he's going to be marching in there, chest out, push-ups on the field beforehand, slamming pads. I mean, he might fucking suit up for all I know. Like, at this rate, just put the pads on 50. Let's go. Get in there. I mean, but how could you you are not a legitimate, you cannot say you bet sports if you click the Patriots. You can't. You need to fucking retire. You need to close all your fucking accounts, and you need to walk your ass home from the casino. Okay? You cannot do it. This is the spot you click.
There's also, this has to be mentioned. Every single round robin, teaser, parlay, survivor entry I legitimately took New England completely out of my Survivor process because one of ownership and two, this guys, something Jeff Sunday won an NFL game on the Dead Cat Bounce. Like a guy came off the street, put a headset on, and just pretended to be head coach for a couple of weeks and won his first game. Like, this is a real thing that happens. So I have zero interest in clicking the Patriots in any Survivor scenarios this week. And then I'll just give some love to, I mentioned Bucks earlier. I'm tied between Bucks and I'm very interested in the Seahawks. -3.5 at home against the Texans. The Texans can't block anybody. The Texans have showed a complete inability to create positive plays on offense. So how are they to go up to Seattle outdoors in what looks like crappy weather and put together an offensive game plan against a McDonald defense, which is very stout? I don't know. The one thing that people are pointing to when they come to this game is obviously the rest for Houston coming off the bye. But other than the rest, I'm not sure I see very many advantages in favor of Houston, especially if I believe in passing offense over defense. And I believe what Clint Kubiak is doing with Sam Darnold looks extremely repeatable. So I'm not too worried about a strong defense coming in because I just think offense is better than defense. So if I think one team is going to be able to generate first downs, yards, and points, and the other team cannot, I have no worries whatsoever laying 3.5 with the Sea Chickens. Go Seattle. Brett looks disgusted over there.
I'm watching this game during the podcast. And I mean, the Blue Jays just tied it, which is good, but I'm stressing out over here.
The Canada's team, the Buffalo Bills, love the connection with the Toronto Blue Jays. So the extremely tentative card right now, Titans, Hawks, Chargers, ? Eagles, and Giants. There will be tinkering. Get in the Discord, bit.ly/Discord Moose, and get at us at Gridiron Gamble on Twitter. Survivor. I am absolutely in the blender this week. Pool Genius projects the Patriots to be the most owned team at 30%. Following them are the Kansas City Chiefs at 25% and the Chicago Bears at 14%. Right after them are the Steelers at 13%, and then you've got the Broncos at 9%. I've already taken the Broncos. I've been going back and forth this week. I'll tell you my holiday plans, which really dictates how to attack this week because, of course, Kansas City plays on both the Thanksgiving and Christmas slates. And having taken the Broncos, they are one of the 6 teams that play on Christmas. So I really, 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 with every fiber in my being, I want to take Kansas City because I think people are going to save them for the holiday slates, and you're going to get them at close to 20% ownership in a spot where you're getting the Raiders off a win. You're double-digit favorites at home. You're getting Rashee Rice back. Who knows if Jacoby Myers is even going to suit up with the trade rumors today. They could have like a phantom benching, or he could even be traded before that game. What is the motivation there when you know that Jacoby Myers is going to be gone? It just seems like a spot where the Chiefs are just going to mash this Raiders team, win by margin, get out of there without a sweat. The problem is if I take Kansas City, then I only have 4 available teams on Christmas, and weird things can happen, right? There's injuries and things that you don't plan for that can just come up and bite you in the butt. And the unfortunate thing about all of that is that of the 4 teams I would have available to me, one of them is projected to be the most chalk that week in 40% with the Washington Commanders playing host to the Dallas Cowboys. So I will just find myself in a situation where I'm either forced to take the Ultra Chalk or forced to take the Ultra Devil, and there will be no exit ramps to take like Kansas City at 30% that week playing host to the Broncos. So that is my biggest problem right now. Brett, you've unmuted, so that's my brain dump. Give me your thoughts.
No, I love it. And what's beautiful about these small slates on the holidays is like it's oftentimes plus EV to embrace the weird and go contrarian. Like the math says it's correct. So that's why I typically don't care about using these elite teams early when you can get them at lower owned. I mean, how often are you going to get? I mean, Kansas City might be sub 20% this week. How often are you going to get a 12, 13 plus point favorite at that ownership? Probably not very often. So I totally understand the thought process behind taking KC this week.
And if you look at, I mean, we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but the projected win odds for the Cowboys on that Christmas slate at Washington right now are 35%. So if we get to a point where we get there and there's that large amount of people on Washington, when in reality the Cowboys have a 35, I would say maybe even closer to 40% chance of winning that game if CeeDee Lamb is back healthy and Dak Prescott continues to play at the level he's currently playing at, like that is a very viable leverage shot. This isn't like that Raiders game we talked about many years ago where it was plus 7.5 and you were completely rolling the dice. And by the way, the Raiders did end up winning that football game. It will be more of a scenario where it is a more realistic shot to win. I'll talk Thanksgiving real quick too. Right now my plan is to take Detroit because Detroit is going to be very low owned and they're going to be a favorite that week. So I think that's a very nice pivot off of the other games. So, but I'm honestly just all over the place because if I don't take Kansas City, then I don't feel good about anything. I don't feel good about the Bears at home against the Saints. I don't feel good about Pittsburgh on the road against
Cleveland,
the Bengals on Thursday.
Cleveland
Cleveland is insanity. So that's where I end up thinking about taking the Packers because I'm not taking the Packers at Detroit on Thanksgiving. So that's just like never happening because the only scenario with which I would do that is if there's a Jared Goff injury and then all of a sudden they're the chalk and I don't want to be on the chalk. So I'm not concerned about holidays when it comes to the Packers. And the only spot where they've got above 70% win odds remaining this season are week 14 home to the Bears and in 2 weeks home to the Panthers, where in 2 weeks home to the Panthers, they're going to have 30% ownership as opposed to the 2% that they're projected this week. So I'm all over the place. Donnie, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, you better just hope I click the right fucking team.
Oh no, do you want to tell that story?
I mean, I submitted the wrong entry for somebody as a proxy. Like, what? And I felt like absolute death for 36 hours.
But Mo,
said, you did them a favor.
You did him a favor.
I mean, it was looking really great there for a little while.
Mo, they wanted to do one Packers, one Raiders. Donnie did two Raiders. So they got there.
I can tell you that having watched the Raiders this week, there's no way,
dude,
that
they played to a draw. They played to a draw with the Titans.
Real NFL team.
They played to a draw with the Titans, but the Titans are just so inept at football under Callahan that it didn't matter. But
I hate to use the word lock, but I do not see any way in the world the Chiefs could ever lose this game. That is how bad the Raiders are.
We got that
I
on wax.
never ever say.
I mean,
that
I didn't
because
want to jinx myself during the game, but I felt that same way about the Raiders against the Titans. Like the Titans could not move the ball 5 yards. I was like, this is the dumbest game I've ever seen. The only thing the Raiders need to do is triple team Jeffrey Simmons, and they will win this game by 1,000,000 points. That was the only thing they needed to figure out.
I have seen the Chiefs lose to some bad Raiders teams, but they were not anywhere near this bad. The level of play that the Raiders are putting on the field is disgusting right now.
They're probably not going to have Bowers again this week, too, right?
So how would it make
That's
you
another
guys
thing.
feel if our Christmas options were only Washington projected to be mega chalk, Dallas at Washington, and then this Detroit, Minnesota NFC North game.
Buddy, if we make it to Christmas with one team left, I don't give a shit.
This is what I was saying in the Discord, is that there are services now, and we also know a lot of gamblers, that I feel like if we were to get to Christmas, we would be able to sell off 5% of our equity or something and de-risk ourselves a little bit and explain to them, look, 40% of this contest is going to be on Washington. We're clicking the Dallas Cowboys because we have an equity chance to really turn this entry into something valuable. Are you willing to buy into that risk? I'm fairly certain we know enough people that we would be able to sell enough equity for us to feel comfortable in making that decision. So, okay, all right. We're taking the Kansas City Chiefs, barring something insane. Give us the double-digit favorite that's going to have super low ownership. Every other double-digit favorite this year is going to be like 30, 40%. We're going to get a half price discount on the greatest quarterback alive, getting Rashee Rice back. It's going to be amazing when this comes back to bite us. And somehow the Las Vegas Raiders win this one. All right. Brett, your thoughts. You're like, what happened?
Well,
Where
no,
you
I'm
saw
just
ghosts?
looking at I'm just looking at the schedule for the Chiefs. Not only are we getting them as a double-digit favorite, I don't know that they're going to be a double-digit favorite again this year. They might not be. So, like, this is the spot for it has to be the spot for the Chiefs.
Their only chance is if the Houston thing, if by week 14 the Houston thing just doesn't click, right? If like people are finally realizing that this Houston team is just horrific, that might be the chance. And if the Chiefs turn into a wagon, right? If Rice comes back and this turns into the wagon again, then maybe that's the spot. But yeah, there's no other game this season until week 16 that the Chiefs have a greater than 70% chance to win, according to Pool Genius. So let's go Patrick, Andy, Rashee, and the bunch. Go Chiefs. Follow these guys on Twitter at Brett Colson, COLLSON, at Dottie_Peters, and at Monowara, NUWWARAH. I'm at Rich C. Ryan. Follow at Gridiron Gamble for our final card. And I'll say it again, get in the Discord, bit.ly/Discord Moose. Best of luck in your betting ventures. See you guys next week. Peace.